One. Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me as always in the co-host seats are our good friends, Angela Rose
Hello, everyone.
and Darren Starling.
Yellow.
We want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you by Casey Fox for all of your artwork, cosplay, and photography needs. Be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and she also has opened up a storefront on, God, what's the name of it? Etsy. So you can check it out there as well. Also, if you're in the Raleigh-Durham area and you need lawn care, be sure to check out Triple S Lawn Care. They will be more than happy to give you great service at a great price. Darren will hook you up the best he can.
Yep.
With the bills out of the way, we want to thank everybody for joining us. I am back after being gone last week because I was on a train working. And next Sunday, I will be gone again because I will probably be working. Good chance I'll be working from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. next Sunday. Fun. So I will miss. I probably will miss the show next week, which means Angela and Darren have to solo it again. And we have two amazing guests joining us. I know. One gentleman joined us not that long ago. Of course, Rick from Nerd Urbanity is back to talk shop. But first, we want to welcome Johnny C back to the show. It has been years since we've had him on, and Johnny, thank you, Johnny and Rick, thank you guys both for coming on and joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, man. It's great to be back after so long.
And hello to everybody in the chat, John, Mario, and Ross. Lovely to see you all on time this week.
I heard about last week, Ross, that you got there late. Shame. No.
Just playing.
Just play. I wasn't even there at all. I had to go back and watch it after the fact and try to figure out what they were talking about. But I know, Johnny, you got some limited time that you were able to hang out with us tonight, so I wanted you to come on and
sure.
For our new listeners, our new viewers out there, I think it's the first time you've joined us since we've gone YouTube. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name's Johnny C. I met the wonderful Doug Engler actually on his wedding day. It was at Northeast Comic-Con, and it was actually televised. The news was out there for that. So that's kind of how special of a day it was. But me and Doug talked, and we clicked. We've been friends since. So me specifically, I'm a creator. I've created comics. I've produced music videos, short web series, really bad horror movies. You can find on Amazon Prime. I also have a YouTube show as well. We're Monday nights. It's hosted by Keith Gleason, and it's called Indie Comics Relay. We like to feature indie comic creators. So if you're ever on a Monday night and you're not watching like Monday Night Raw or Monday Night Football, pop on into YouTube, check out Indie Comics Relay, and you can check out some really cool indie comic creators we like to feature.
Awesome. And from your comics, you also came out with your own coffee line.
Yes. So I have a comic book. It's called Surrounded by Death. The basic concept of that book is kind of Mallrats meets The Walking Dead. So if you've seen those two things, it's both those flavors kind of mixed into an original story. And in that story arc, they're living out a zombie apocalypse in a really rundown mall from the 80s. And they run out of a very specific coffee blend that everybody loved. So our leader and his autistic gun-toting best friend have to go into a dangerous portion of the mall to get more of this coffee blend. So given that in high school I worked with a coffee roaster and worked at a coffee shop, I thought, well, why not white label some coffee and produce that coffee blend from the book? That way I can bring it to the real world. So you can read the comic. You can actually try the coffee that they're going after in the story in the mall. It brings you a little bit inside my comic and brings a little bit of my comic outside to the real world.
Which is a creative idea.
As a coffee drinker, I am absolutely intrigued because I am I drink coffee every day without fail, and
I will say it's good. I've had some.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
and coffee with a story, even better.
Thank you. It's a very specific blend. I developed it with the roaster. It's 2 parts vanilla, 1 part French roast. So it's got a nice little kind of hint of aroma of sweetness, but it's got the French roast to kind of keep it grounded and earthy and strong and bold. So it's I don't like to usually
Kinda like
toot my own
Johnny.
horn, but what's that?
Kind of like Johnny himself.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds
So
absolutely.
I really like
what's
this.
it called?
I'll drink it. Normally, I like my coffee light with sweet. I can drink this stuff black. That's how much I like it.
What do you call it?
It's so the cafe from the mall in the comic is called the Espresso Presto. So espresso, not spelt like espresso, but espresso, like it's quick and on the go. So it's a little bit of a pun. So it's called Espresso Presto's Special Vanilla Blend. And I have bags of it. So if you find me at a convention, I'm selling copies of Surrounded by Death. We have 2 issues out right now. Our 3rd one's coming soon. And I'll also have bags of the coffee from the book.
Awesome.
So next year, Johnny, you've got to get up to Rail City.
I do. I'm really bummed I missed that show. I think it was, when was it again?
July.
Yeah.
I think I was first weekend of July.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I think
you originally were gonna go because we talked to Keith and he's like, Johnny is gonna try to make it up here. It was July 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, so July's such a tough month because I have so many shows. In the back half of the month, I'm always in San Diego for Comic-Con. So it's real tough to make. And then the week after San Diego, so I landed back from California. I had a 1-day gap, and then I went immediately down to Terrificon in Connecticut. So July's so hard. I have so many conventions all crammed in at one time. But I'm hoping to maybe check out and make it to Rail City this next coming
And
year.
Johnny in the chat, John Knight wants to know, what's your favorite horror movie?
My favorite horror movie. I really enjoy Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like horror that's kind of grounded in reality. Not that I don't appreciate the Freddys and the Jasons and the Supernaturals and the slashers, but stuff like Texas Chainsaw or Scream, real big fan of those kind of movies.
And as you said, you've been very busy throughout, especially this year. Said you've been kind of go almost all year long. And
I need a break.
I'm
I need a vacation.
I'm glad you were able to find a little bit of time to hang out with us. Also, happy birthday to you, by the way.
Oh,
I know
thanks,
your
man.
birthday was earlier this week.
Birthday.
Thanks,
Happy
man. Yeah, my
birthday.
birthday was on Wednesday. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Also, on the topic of birthdays, happy birthday to our friend Rob Keys. His birthday is today. Also, my daughter's birthday is technically tomorrow. She turns 6.
Oh,
Happy
wow.
birthday.
Dude, so much time has passed. I remember
You
before
wouldn't
she
even
was
recognize
born,
her now,
man.
Johnny.
I know, man. It's wild. Time flies. I feel old.
She's in kindergarten now.
Wow.
You talk
That's just
about
fantastic.
crazy.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yup.
So lots of birthdays going on this week and lots of good things. Also, in case you missed it, earlier this month, Megan Shipman had a baby, and also Jeremy Lee had a baby in October as well. She put a quick post up on her social media page about that she gave birth back in early October. So congratulations to her. I never even knew she was pregnant.
Wow.
Megan I knew, but Jeremy I did not. So voice actor world, if you heard seen articles about the voice of Anya, sounds a little bit different. Brent April has taken over from Megan as the voice of Anya from Spy Family in the English dub, while Megan is hopefully home and everybody's happy and healthy. So, congratulations to all the goodness that's going on out there.
Stay.
I do remember Megan being on the show before in the past. I think I've actually, one of the last episodes I was on,
she
was a guest host.
Co-host.
Yeah,
she was a guest host, and you got to chat with her.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Now, knowing that you have gone to create your own coffee blend to go along with the comic, how has that been received from the conventions you've been going? Because we see a lot of independent comic creators at these events. I know, Rick, you've talked to many at the events you've gone to, but you don't see people who have kind of that cool niche of bringing something extra that goes in. I know our friend Jay Morris has the tabletop game that he created
Yep.
that
Yep.
goes along
He's
with
got
his
Faye.
comics.
Yep. He's got Faye now.
He's got Faye. You've got the coffee kind of thing. What kind of encouraged you to be like, let's just do this? And how has the convention world embraced the idea of bringing the coffee with a comic?
So not every convention's keen on on allowing me to bring coffee. So for example, at New York Comic Con, when I was in small press, I wasn't allowed to sell any of the gimmicks. So I can only sell printed material. So printed primarily flat material. So I couldn't bring bags of coffee. I actually also developed a hot sauce recently. We can get into that in a second. But yeah, so most conventions are really good about it. One of the best conventions that's treated me really well with the coffee has been Terrificon. At that show, I can actually bring a full-fledged pop-up cafe booth where it is the espresso presto stand from the comic, and I'm usually behind the bar. I have like a little pop-up bar where I can serve cups of the espresso presto blend. I've got a green barista apron, so we really kind of bring the comic even more to life when we were able to go and do that show. And that's a real fun time. That's it's always been a crowd pleaser. A lot of people swing by the booth. A lot of celebrities come get their coffee in the morning and they come back in the afternoon to tell me how much they loved it. So that's been a really meaningful one. There is just people appreciating that and all the work that goes into doing like a quick pop-up cafe for a weekend at a convention.
Well, while you talked about how you worked with coffee beans before, what really inspired the move from the comic book world into the real world? What was the inspiration behind it?
So the coffee was part of the story anyway. And some of it was based upon, well, I have access to this roaster because I worked there in high school. But the other part of it was when I started doing shows, I realized that table costs are expensive. So to exhibit at a convention, it's not cheap. And if I'm selling only $5 floppies and I only have 2 issues of Surrounded by Death at the moment, amongst a couple other titles, but it's really hard to make it to that number with $5 books, these floppies. So I'm like, how can I increase my number? How can I bring a premium item to the table? And then that's where I thought, well, how can I expand Surrounded by Death? How can I make it so that even though there's only 2 issues, I can have repeat customers coming back, even if since production time takes so long in between issues? How can I get people to keep coming back? And I'm also a big fan of practical items. I like things that people can use in everyday life. So when I did the Kickstarter for it, barista apron, mug, things that, will have my branding that you will use in your daily life. So that was kind of the thought process there. What's a practical item people use all the time, keep them coming back, and it also tastes damn good. And that's kind of where I was able to figure out, okay, let's make coffee part of this.
So are you still selling the aprons and everything else as well?
That was part of the Kickstarter deal. So we didn't go too far in that, as just things that we had to kind of help push the campaign to the number that we got to. But I would suspect that I would probably go back to that well on our next campaign and offer it again. So that way it's not openly offered. It's kind of a special thing. If you want to get an apron, if you want to get a mug, it happens during the campaigns. And that kind of makes that extra special,
Sounds like Darren could use some coffee.
I'm sorry if I'm boring you to death, Darren.
I'm not a coffee drinker by any means.
From the chat, Ross, first of all, says, "Happy birthday, Johnny."
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
And his question is to both of you. Are you going to see the Thanksgiving No Leftovers movie on the 17th?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That we're talking Eli Roth's movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I assume so.
Yeah, I'm all on board on that one.
There are not many movies that really expand the genre of Thanksgiving. You have Yeah, Thanksgiving seems to be nowadays the holiday that got left behind, the holiday that could, because it's there for eating and pretty much that's it.
Food and football.
Yep, exactly. Eating and football. And
and
so,
political debates at the table.
and debates at the table. But other than that, oh yeah, because everybody's so enthralled by Halloween and enthralled by Christmas, which is right around the corner. Thanksgiving just happens to be the holiday, and I honestly, it was ripe and it was open for someone to finally go in there and say, okay, I'm making a Thanksgiving death movie. I'm gonna make a horror movie for Thanksgiving, and it fits. And if it does well, it'll be my Thanksgiving from here on out.
There you go. I like that it was spun out of Grindhouse. So it was really cool to see Grindhouse so many years ago, and now to have one of those movies fully realized, one of those fake trailers fully realized. No, they did it with Machete and a few others, but it's cool to see that one get kind of made in full. Plus, it's in Salem, Mass, or Plymouth. Actually, I'm sorry, Plymouth, Mass, my backyard.
Actually, I want to backtrack a second. When you guys were talking about the favorite horror movies, I really wanted to say it, but I didn't say it before. But my favorite horror movie, if I was asked, it would be American Werewolf in London.
I watch that movie every year. I just watched it the other night.
That movie is phenomenal, and the practical effects is something that I have never really seen again in any genre.
I have to agree with you there. That transformation in that movie is so good. They did such a good job. Rick Baker, the actor, I forget his name off the top of my head, but just his whole committal to the role, like from him ripping off his shirt, screaming like "I'm burning up," and all of a sudden just seeing contorting and
that
so
agony
awesome.
was real.
And real. That was real deal business.
The way they had his friend decomposing little by little by little throughout the entire series. Oh,
I love that he was like the little angel on his shoulder, even though he was a decomposing corpse.
Exactly.
And I don't know why when you talked about Plymouth, it made me laugh. Actually, I do know why, because
I was going to say, you know why. Plymouth is not Boston, and we're going to leave it at that.
there was a thing that happened at Rail City. We were tabled literally beside. It was the AZR table. Christy Rothrock was beside us, and beside her were a couple of idiots known as Token with the Dead. Yeah, I think you know that.
I know those guys.
Well, Angela got to talking with them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're from the Boston area, or we're from Boston."
They said they were from Boston,
and she asked them where, and they said, "Oh, Plymouth," and she stood up. Hands on hips. That's not Boston.
Thank you, Angela.
I wish
if
that
they
could have
had
been
said,
on film.
If they had said Boston area, Plymouth counts because it's the
Boston adjacent.
Well,
right.
Pretty much. So, Boston area is the eastern half of the state, if from the New Hampshire border down to about Plymouth. But they said Boston. No. Just no.
If you are out of Massachusetts, out of New England, as far out as I'd say Ohio west, you can just say I'm from Boston or I'm from Massachusetts and write it off. You can't be in New England and telling people you're from Boston and not being from Boston proper. I mean, come on now.
No, and I got away with that going to college in Pennsylvania.
There you go.
Because I got introduced to someone and the mutual friend was like, yeah, both of you said you're from Boston. And I'm like, and we're both like, well, I'm from a small town about 45 minutes north. And then it becomes which one. Turns out we lived 2 towns apart.
Oh, wow.
In the Merrimack Valley. And our mutual friend was from Allentown, Pennsylvania. And we spent the next 20 minutes going back and forth with all this little suburbia shit that you would only know if you're from that region.
From the area, yeah.
And the irony is, I now work in Allentown.
There you go. Look at that. That's just kismet. That's the cosmic connectivity of everybody just shining through right there.
Yep.
John Knight, my favorite dubbed anime is the 1988 dub of Akira. I'm not a fan of the redub they did. The original dub, magnifique.
Oh god. Speaking of, and from Ross in the chat, speaking of horror movie, 3 items from 3 different horror movies. Which would be the best of all time? Chainsaw, pickaxe, or standard axe?
Chainsaw.
Chainsaw, yeah. You cut through somebody.
Don't watch Chainsaw Man.
The banana.
Chainsaw Man was a fantastic anime. As for horror movies, I tend to avoid that just kind of becomes not for me.
And John Knight in the chat says this year marks the 35th anniversary of Akira movie.
Yes.
It's an awesome
Akira,
movie.
so good.
That was one of the first anime movies, if not the first anime movie I ever watched. And I loved it so much that when I went to college, it was actually one of my term papers.
Oh, cool. What was the subject basically or specifically?
The impact of Japanese culture in the United States, and largely Akira is responsible for the boom of anime really furthering itself in the mainstream in the United States, because it was I believe the first anime movie shown in theaters here in the US.
Oh, that's an interesting fact.
Agreed. And that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And I know. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Oh, no. I was gonna say I'm just gushing because it's just a wonderful movie, and
It really is.
to jump on piggyback on your answer. And I agree. Akira, the original dub, and Vampire Hunter D, the original dub. Those were the first and my favorite dub movies. Not all of them get a pass, but those two did.
Right.
I know-
If I had to round out a top 3, I'd say I'd add Ninja Scroll and what was the other one? Was at the tip of my tongue. It'll come to
Ghost
me.
Stories.
For me, honestly,
Fist of the North Star.
Oh man,
And Shiro. You know, when somebody can chop a building in half, respect.
anyone that could chop a building in half, let it land on their head, and then continue to walk.
Yep.
Respect.
Dope. That's so dope.
And I know, Johnny, you had some limited time to hang out, but we wanted to give you a chance to let everybody know where they can find all of your materials, the coffee, the comics, any conventions you have coming up, knowing that you've been a busy man.
Yes. So my first, let's start with conventions. So the last convention of the year for me is going to be Saratoga Comic-Con up in Saratoga Springs, New York. Highly recommend that show. I'm actually the MC of that show. So you'll hear my voice over the loudspeaker directing you about all the fun stuff that's happening throughout the weekend. Now, as far as where people can find me online, if you're looking to buy goods, I have a online store. It's at Big Cartel. So you can just go johnnyc.bigcartel.com. You can find me there. On Twitter and X, it's at JohnnyC138. So you can follow me over there. Or if you want to go over to Facebook, it's facebook.com/yourjohnnyc. Just the same way it's written right there, possessively, as I belong to y'all.
Awesome. And hopefully next year we'll be able to make it out to a convention that you'll be at. Not knowing what my work schedule will be or how difficult it will be to get time off now that I work for a large-scale railroad. Vacation times and figuring things out for convention are going to be a challenge for probably the first year or so. But I really hope that we can see you at a convention really soon. Maybe we can get you out to Pennsylvania for something.
I was just going to say, you know, I used to do a convention out at Greater Oaks, PA, is the Greater Philly Comic-Con. And that was a fun show. And I missed the Wawa that was right around the corner over there.
They
Wawa's
closed. They closed the Wawas near the Philadelphia Convention Center.
No, did they?
Yes, because
that's a bummer.
because we noticed that last year when we went down there for PAX Unplugged.
Oh man,
And
but
it
love
was
Wawa,
so-
love that convention center. Would love to come to PA to see you, Doug,
Yes.
and the rest of the fam.
Just let me know when.
Yep. I'll keep you
we will
posted
work something up.
if I'm in your neck of the woods, my friend.
Definitely. But I don't want to keep you too long. I know that you
Yep.
are a busy guy, but thank you so much for coming on, hanging out with us for a half hour or so. And
I
it
was
was
just-
great chatting with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I definitely don't want to step on the guest. It was great meeting everybody. Rick, good meeting you as well, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the show, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Lovely to
Thank you
meet
for,
you.
Take care.
thank
Have a
you
good
for
one,
coming
guys.
on. Have a great night, and we will keep in contact for sure.
You got it. Peace out, guys.
Night.
Night.
Johnny C, everybody. Again, awesome guy. I talked with him earlier this week. Gave him a happy birthday shout out. Was going to see about if he was available to do a special show, maybe Friday or Saturday night, but his schedule is already booked. So he asked about coming on tonight for a little bit. And I know Rick likes meeting new people, and
He was awesome.
he was supposed to be there at Rail City. That's how I give him crap. You would have met him at Rail City.
Oh man, I would have clicked with him immediately. He
Oh,
hit all my happy spots.
Yep.
He's
That-
good
that's
at
one
that.
of those. That's one of those. The vibe was there.
Yeah.
And Keith Gleason is that I was talking about. Keith had the table at the other end of the row you were at, so right at the main aisle there.
Man.
So you met Keith at Rail City. That's the other guy he does the podcast with.
Oh, that's awesome.
So again, thank you so much to Johnny C for joining us tonight. Great to catch up with him. Hopefully we can get him on again for full 2 hours, because he's high energy. When he says he does PA announcing, you know it's Johnny. And
Because he's got one of those voices, you can tell.
oh yeah. But again, we want to thank you, Rick, for joining us again tonight. I know last time you were on with us, you were excited about going to a toy fair, which unfortunately things did not work out, you mentioned.
Unfortunately, yeah, it was my first toy fair, and the next one is going to be 2025, I believe. And unfortunately, it did not happen because of the flooding. So my flight got canceled, and so I tried to drive down, and we were turned back. So there was no way for me to get down there. They did still have the convention, but people had to, at least those that were getting down there, had to get through all that water first just to get down there. So it was fairly empty, unfortunately. And like I said, it's not coming back until 2025. So hopefully
Boo.
I can get another invite and then I'll be back. Or there for the first time.
And I know that you were looking forward to that. Are there any other conventions that you have coming up before the end of the year, or?
The only convention that I have going on right now, because I've been incredibly busy with something else I'll tell you guys in a bit, is the Rail City, the mini-con that they have coming up. That's right around here, and there's going to be some donations. There's going to be little events. It's just going to be a really small, really cordial type of event where everybody can just grab a couple of things for our last minute things for Christmas.
Awesome. That's cool that they're doing that. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to see Rail City is growing, and like I mentioned before, they impressed me year one, which is why I know that I went above and beyond what I needed to provide a guest for Rail City, and they were very deserving of it. And I know you had a good time out there. Darren was too busy to join us, which is par for the course for Darren.
It's summertime.
Yeah.
Summertime, and he does landscaping. I mean, there
It's
you have it.
it's a fantastic event, and I'm enjoying it right now because that thing is just getting busier and busier every single year, and I'm trying to enjoy it while I have the opportunity to still talk to people before this thing just explodes and gets so busy that you can't converse with any of the vendors during the conference, the show. I'm sorry, the convention itself.
Have you considered trying to vend at something like Anime Boston?
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, the only reason why I really haven't had an opportunity to do that, is because this year has just been incredibly busy, and it's primarily the familiar side of things. Because this year was my son graduated high school, and then we were getting him ready for college, and then he started just this last August, and so it's been very busy from the very beginning, from the beginning of this year till this point now, with everything working with him. However, on my side, um as soon as I get things more um in control, I'll be able to start traveling again. I wanted, when he said the Saratoga Springs convention, I was going to do that this year, and unfortunately I just didn't get a chance to do it. So I'm ready to travel. I'm ready to start getting things out there. It's just that this year was just really difficult for me to do so.
Have you had a chance to breathe this year?
No, I don't think, to be honest, I do not understand what is going on with this year. This year has been so busy, um, with absolutely everything. And while I appreciate, the time I'm able to put into different things, I have not breathed. It has not happened. I mean, matter of fact, we have a friend flying in from a military base this week from South Korea. So we're going to be entertaining this week as well.
Wow. Yeah, definitely no time to breathe. And
Don't forget to breathe.
No. But if I could, I'd tell you guys what I have been working on.
of course.
Ooh.
I actually have a charity event coming up this weekend, on the 10th and 11th, for the veterans, and it is a event where I sell collectible figures for $1 and their shipping price, and they're going to be dropped at random on Friday and on Saturday. And during that time, you'll have the opportunity, or any customers will have the opportunity to purchase one of those figures for that. And then the retail value of that figure gets donated by my business to an organization called Hope for the Warriors.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so anybody who wants to participate, they will have the opportunity to get one of the figures that I have up there for a buck and their shipping price.
Oh God. And when was that starting?
The
November
10th,
10 and 11.
November 10th and 11th. Right now,
Friday and Saturday. Oh, good God. That could be dangerous.
the items I have listed right now is a Mezco exclusive Green Ranger, a Mezco exclusive Blade, the leader class Dinobot Grimlock.
Feel free to grab them and show them off if you want.
Sure. Actually,
I mean, we got the video stuff here, so
Why
this
not?
is a perfect
Let's
opportunity to show off
promote
the
the
wares.
heck out of this stuff.
will show you.
And any kind of, I'm just gonna go on and say, any kind of fundraiser for veterans with as much military in my family, 100%
This
spot
fundraiser.
on.
Now, Hope for the Warriors is a fantastic group. It was actually established in 2006, out of Cap Lejeune, and it was created to care for injured soldiers, their family members, and the families of individuals who made the ultimate sacrifice. And so, what their whole job is to bring hope back to these individuals. So it's a fantastic organization. And since I had my um, preliminary opening in 2000, was it 22 or 21, I've been donating to them since.
Oh, that's fantastic. And if you'd like to shoot me an email with all that information and where people
Absolutely.
can find out, I will post it up on my social media. I'll forward it to Angela and Darren, and I'm sure they'd be happy to share it as well.
And
But if you guys want to see what I'm putting up,
yes.
okay, I have a Super Saiyan 4 Goku that's going up. That's going to be, and remember, like I said, everything is going to go up for $1 plus shipping. So the retail price of this is actually go to Hope for the Warriors by my business. I have the Dinobot Grimlock from the movie. The Mezco exclusive Green Ranger. And a lot of the reasons why I pick some of these items, other than the Goku, they're all sold out. So you cannot get them on retail really anymore. You'll have to go to the secondary market to get it. And if you do that, it's going to be pricey. So that's why I'm picking these items. The Mezco MDX, or Blade. The highly sought after Batman movie 6-pack that came out just recently, which people are after like crazy. And my personal favorite, a vintage 1987 Silverhawks toy that's mint in the package. So all of those items, they're actually all listed on my website right now. You can't buy them yet, but they're all listed right now. And I might do one secret drop on the 12th. So, but thank you so much for letting me show you guys that.
Of course.
Of course.
As I
And
had mentioned in the email, where we've added the video aspect to it, this is a perfect time to bring on a vendor like yourself that you can show off. Okay, this is a merchandise that we carry. If there's something you're looking for, maybe we have it. And
matter of fact, I think this is the time. This is the first time I've done this with you guys from one of my storerooms. So, because a lot of the questions that I get, because when somebody comes across my website, and typically when they do, it's because they're looking for something that's been out of stock. And typically I'll have it. And largely because I'm so very new, I don't get as many customers as some of the larger retailers like Big Bag Toy Store and stuff like that. So they'll come in and their first question is this legit? Is this real? Do you guys really have this stuff? It's like, yes. Yes, I do. I do really have this stuff. And so when you told me like, hey, why don't you, show off some of your stuff? I was like, you know what? I'll just sit in my office. I think that might be the best way to show that I have some stock. A lot of it, actually.
Of course, I can see all the Ninja Turtle stuff. That's stuff I grew up with. Now, I wasn't Transformers. I wasn't Star Wars. I grew up with the Ninja Turtles.
I have a ton of Ninja Turtle stuff. As a matter of fact, a customer called me today asking me about Ninja Turtle stuff. And what I explained to him is I'm a large operation of like 2. Is that I actually only have about 35% of what I have in storage on my website. And so as far as the Ninja Turtle stuff goes, I have maybe 2% of that up there. And so while I'm working diligently to try to get everything up, the process sometimes can be a little difficult since I'm marketing and trying to get everything out there just myself.
And hats off to you for trying to do this and keep up with a website. I can't figure out websites for the life of me, which is why 9.5 years in, we still don't have an AZR website.
I'm working on that. It's just
it takes time.
It's a slow going work in progress because, well, no, in reality, I started a new job in July and and
Well,
then left the country for 2 weeks. And
where'd you go? If you mind my
uh, I talked about this when I got back in August. My husband and I and his family, we did a few days in Athens, a few days in Santorini, and then a few days in Nice before coming back home.
Oh wow. That's awesome.
That is that is one of our big things is we love to travel.
Oh,
My big trip was going to Pennsylvania and then staying.
I absolutely understand. I don't know if you guys remember me saying this is my 14th home. And prior to that, I've lived all over the US and in Europe and Asia. So traveling it was my thing for a very, very long time. I mean, I enjoy the fact that I can put some roots down now, but oh yeah, traveling is absolutely fun, especially
Uh,
going overseas to Europe and
we
Asia.
Ross, everything we saw was fantastic. To answer
My,
that,
my question is, what did you eat?
everything.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, the
And-
food, the food.
I like food, so we ate literally everything.
Oh, I'm definitely a foodie. And everything's just so fresh. It's so
Yup.
good. But it is an awesome experience to to travel. As a matter of fact, I graduated high school in Germany, so it's been uh uh outstanding life
See,
that I've been able to live.
I've been traveling. I did not get to do the extent. I didn't leave the country outside of Canada pretty much until I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
I haven't been out of the country. I'm in my mid 40s, so
In fact, my wife and I are supposed to be traveling to Puerto Rico next year for our 20th wedding anniversary.
oh,
Congrats.
Thank
yes,
you.
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I said this, I'm actually half Puerto Rican, and I have never been home, and this is going to be an opportunity to go.
See, I can
Oh,
honestly
awesome.
I can honestly say same.
Yeah.
Granted, I also didn't find that out until I was 40.
Wow. Really?
To the short version, closed adoption. So I knew absolutely nothing. With the first stimulus check, I did the 23andMe with all the health
Yes.
stuff so I could get kind of something to tell doctors. And turns out I went down, going down a rabbit hole led me to get my pre-adoption birth certificate. My biological mother born in Puerto Rico.
Holy cow. That's awesome.
I don't even know what I am. I was adopted really young. I've
Yeah.
never gone and done any of that stuff.
I was born in December, given to my adopted parents in January. So I literally know absolutely nothing other than my adopted family.
Oh, wow.
And you were talking about food earlier. I have to throw a shout out to a local place. I found a ramen shop here in Kutztown called Taki Ramen, Takkii. It's a new location. I guess they have them throughout Pennsylvania, and oh my god, it was delicious. My wife got to try takoyaki for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Takoyaki is delicious.
And she said that it was amazing. It even had the fish flakes that from the heat, they kind of move, look like they're alive and everything. It was really neat to see. I got the spicy dish and the taste was amazing. The beef was really, really good. Had enough spice that like trying to drink the broth, it was a little too much because I was caught me coughing a few times because of the spiciness of it. But it wasn't so much that it like burns and it kills you and the spiciness ruins it. It had enough kick with good flavor to make it a really good bowl.
Oh.
And to kind of bring this back to the chat a little bit, John, I have not watched the final episode yet. we finally watched the one that dropped earlier this year for Attack on Titan. I'm looking forward to it finally being over and done with.
Maybe.
Don't start. To answer Ross's question, Ross, the only thing I had in Greece that I didn't like was the olives. I tried. And nope.
Greece is phenomenal. Greek food is phenomenal.
Greek food was delicious. We did not have a bad meal.
But bringing it back to Attack on Titan.
Yep.
Write yourself into a hole. Time travel.
Yep. Just nope.
Every single time comics, oh my gosh, the whole universe is going to be destroyed. Time travel.
I mean, you know what? To kind of segue from that, have you watched Loki?
I am a firm believer in waiting. I watched the first and second episodes of Loki. And it drives me insane when I can't binge. So I would rather ignore the internet for a couple of months and binge all at once than go through each episode. It's kind of like with because I'm also watching the Goosebumps show as well. But Loki, out of the lineup that came out, Loki has to be one of my favorites. Scarlet Witch first, then Loki.
Season 2 is fantastic.
I know.
I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna leave it at that and time travel.
Does it work though?
Well, episode 5, the final episode hasn't dropped yet.
Okay.
We watched episode 5.
Have you guys seen the Echo trailer yet?
No.
No. The Echo. Are you guys familiar with her character? She was on the Hawkeye.
Yes.
She worked with oh my gosh, I can't, Fisk, and and then changes sides towards the end. Well, this is the prequel as to where she's coming up, and from what they spoke about is she is a bad guy in this show. There is in the trailer, and I don't want to ruin it. It is definitely R-rated. It goes back to what the first Daredevil did, where he was killing people.
I'm really hoping that they keep that cast when they bring back Daredevil.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe they've been talking about recasting him. I believe that he's in Echo. He is supposed to be in Echo. I believe it's the same guy, but
if they recast Matt Murdock, I am going to be so upset.
Me too.
Because that was one Netflix nailed.
Yes. There's not,
that casting was perfect.
Just like what they did with Iron Man. There are some people that you see in the role that should be there. The same with the original Professor X.
And speaking of Iron Man, allegedly
coming back,
Robert Downey Jr. is coming back.
Both of them, Scarlett Johansson and Robert Downey Jr. They're talking about bringing them back into the series, and told my wife about this, and she was just in shock. I said, "Don't you read comic books? Nobody stays dead. Nobody." So, but question: do you think they'll bring back the original, or do you think it'll be from another dimension?
Given, I'm convinced it's going to be it's going to be from a multiverse perspective at this point.
And then in the end, you find out it's all just a big isekai.
Stop! No,
I would not mind that.
that would ruin it. That I'm not gonna lie, that would just make me sad.
I'm sorry. I'm an isekai fanboy.
I know,
I would not mind.
and I give these guys crap for that regularly.
Yes.
Now, switching gears to anime a little bit. I know last time you were on, Darren and I kind of gave you some quirky shows to watch, which you were not too happy
We
about.
warned you.
We did warn you that they were terrible.
Yes. I made it 8 minutes in. Well, six. Actually, I looked at the timestamp. I think it was like 6 minutes and 50 seconds for one. And it was Conception?
Conception, I think you made it a little longer.
Yeah, I made it through the first episode. And I was like, what am I doing? Why am I here watching?
Now, just so you know, Darren, me, and my wife all watched Conception in its entirety.
Wow.
Thinking that there was a chance of it that it would get better.
Do you need a hug after that?
My hug has come this year or this season in the form of an anime, which I know it's been talked about a lot, but I can honestly say, as an isekai fan, it is so nice to find an actual fantasy anime with a really good character. Personally, I think it's got a fantastic storyline and is probably my favorite show of this season. It's called Frieren.
Yes.
I know Angela wants to let the hype die down a little bit. It did start off a little on the slow side with some good buildup, but the storyline is really good. The concept of it, of looking at the world through the eyes of an elf that can live centuries. 10 years is nothing in the world of an elf, and trying to convey that story in an anime form to an audience that's so used to heroes parties that the whole concept of the show is they're trying to defeat the demon lord. And this show just shows you what happens after the demon lord is dead. What happens to the heroes party?
But actually, from the chat, Rick, what's the first isekai anime you ever watched?
What was the first isekai anime I ever watched? Honestly, I think it was probably Shield Hero. I actually did not have any affinity for isekai anime at all at the very beginning. And I enjoyed Shield Hero, and then my friend told me that I should check out what is that one? The Wise Man's Grandchild, which very nearly ruined isekai anime for me, period. Like, I was almost done after that one because the voice acting was when I watched it, voice acting wasn't good, and then I was like, oh my gosh, they are just all over this kid, and I couldn't stand it. Now I've watched that anime at least 7 times. It grew on me. But
Wise Man's Grandchild wasn't horrible.
It actually, when I first watched it, I was just like, this is terrible. And then it grew on me big time. And now I've watched it in its entirety 7 times. And now I absolutely love it. But I was never really into Sword Art online. It wasn't and most people would say, oh, Sword Art. It wasn't it for me. It wasn't that that's not what brought me into it. I like being really enthralled with the storyline, and I just feel like as good as Sword Art was, I just didn't connect with the characters as much.
I would argue Sword Art's not an isekai.
That's true. That could be arguable.
No, that said, Sword Art. That said, Sword Art I really like.
Well,
It is.
The technicality of it, I don't know if you could consider it isekai because you're not really seeing somebody who is transformed, into another world. You're watching them playing a video game.
I
Yeah.
mean, an argument could be made for the very first story arc because they couldn't leave the video game.
Mhm. Which is true.
But that's like
But-
calling Bofuri an isekai because you're watching them play a video game
But
where
no,
they
they
can
can
leave.
They can leave at any point, which is why anyway.
But I
Uh,
remember when somebody tried to get me to watch Reincarnated as a Slime, and I had absolutely no desire to watch it. And I told her, no, I haven't seen it. And this poor woman, I could tell that she was a super fan. I've never seen anybody get so upset in my life when I told them that I enjoyed anime. Have you ever seen that? No, I haven't seen it. Are you planning on watching it? No, not really. She was just she was mad. And
I know a lot of people that really like that specific one, and I'm like, that just does not interest me in the slightest.
I enjoyed the story build, like the world building aspect of season 1. Season 2 started to get a little bit better, and then life happened, and I didn't get to finish season 2, part 2.
I'll be honest. I finally went back. I went in and I watched it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was enjoyable. I liked Overlord better,
Overlord's really good.
but I did enjoy that one. Well, I'd have to say, hands down, one of my favorites is definitely Overlord.
And then we've got the chat going at it. Have you, Rick? Have you watched Rising of the Shield Hero season 3?
No, I like to wait for episodes to come in. The reason why I do that is because I really got into watching anime more so when I was in college. My wife was in the military. I was in college full time, and we just kind of passed each other, sit and have dinner, and then I'd be, in school after taking care of our kids all evening, and I'd get off at 3, and then I'd go sit down and I'd watch Naruto. And if anybody's familiar with Naruto, you know that they take long breaks, and filler was just filler and filler and filler. And so when I'd wait for an episode and it would be filler or it would be a break, it would just drive me insane. So now I wait for at least there to be like 5 to 6 episodes, or at least sometimes the entire season, before I'll sit down and watch, because it drives me insane when there's a real cliffhanger and then they're on break, they're on hiatus because of, New Year or something like that. And
then Ross wants to know if you've seen Isekai Cheat Magician.
Mhm. I have. If it has Isekai in the name, 9 times out of 10, I've seen it. I did. I enjoyed that one as well. I am a huge Isekai nut. I am interested in watching, and although it might not actually fit into the Isekai genre, the one with the guy that wears the bird head, the bird mask, I'm going to be watching that one as soon as it starts to get a few more episodes as well. But yes, I did enjoy Cheat Magician.
And then we've got some comments about Sword Art. Apparently this year marks the 10th anniversary of the English dub for Sword Art Online.
That's another cast of a show that I think did very well. The Sword Art Online group did well. As a matter of fact, I also enjoy the voice cast for One Punch Man as well in dub version.
And speaking of the voice cast, John Knight in the chat says Sword Art Online dub features Bryce Papenbrook as Kirito and Jeremy Lee as Asuna. We mentioned Jeremy earlier in the show about just having a baby. And again, congratulations to her and her family for the little one. And I know I've probably asked you this before, and I don't remember the answer, but one of my favorite isekais, which you were so gracious enough to get me an Nendroid for. Have you seen Realist Hero?
I've seen some of it. I did not finish it, not because I didn't want to, but because I got busy. Started watching The Realest Hero this year, and half the time now, and this is why I appreciate dub artists, is because I've been extremely busy with revamping my website, and that's why when you guys were talking about the website, my heart just went out to you. And
that's a thing I've been looking into and then got way too busy with other
it,
things and
it takes time. It's a process.
yep.
I was able to work. I worked on my website from 2019 up until I launched like 2022. It takes a while when you're trying to get, and it wasn't necessarily the editing or the coding that took a while for me, because I did recode some of the areas that I have in my store to specialize in. It's trying to make it your personal thing and trying to add those touches that really make it something for you. And so, you'll go through, you work on it, and then you go back and work on it. But to finish your question, Doug, I put on anime now and just run it in the background, and I work all day. And so I have not been able to go back to the anime that I really want to watch, because I'll just run the anime that I'm familiar with, because everything's just been really busy with me, stepping marketing and reworking and adding, product to my website this year.
Now, what you have seen of it, I'm curious of what your opinion is. I loved the concept. It caught me by surprise. And like I said, the thing that sold me was watching it in its entirety. And it's one of those rare shows where it ties itself together. The last episode can bring you right back to the first episode.
It's intelligent. That's what I really enjoyed about it. It wasn't just about, beating each other over the head with everything. It was a very intelligent show. And that's the reason why, I want to sit down and watch it, because it's something that you really want to pay attention to.
It is. It's something that it's not your typical isekai where you can put it on. It's the same, as the thing that Angela hates about most isekai. It's the same tropes over and over again.
Yeah.
This one it had some original ideas. The fact that, it's an intelligent person. His overpoweredness comes from his knowledge, not from, oh, look, I have an absurd skill and da-da-da-da-da. And he uses logic and intelligence to
solve problems.
Turn a fleeting country into a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Which is why at some point I hope Angela will check it out.
My watch list is a mile long.
the time that Angela will watch that will be when me and Darren actually all get together. We just stay up late binging different shows, and that will be one that gets recommended.
Or we do a round robin. Everybody picks a show, and then the three of us watch episode 1 of first person's pick, and then around the room.
So what did everybody do? And I have to ask, what did everybody do for Halloween?
Honestly, no, I actually not much. Basically, because one of my D&D campaigns, we had to reschedule a session. It got rescheduled to Halloween, so it became a Halloween themed session.
This year was a little sad for me. My kids no longer wanted to trick or treat. I have one that went to college, and my youngest was done. So unfortunately, this is the first year that I did not get to take my munchkins out to trick or treat.
Kutztown is weird because they had their trick or treating night on the 26th.
Oh wow.
A Thursday night. I was working, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to go along with my daughter to go trick or treating out here. But my wife and my daughter met up with one of her friends from school and their parents and walked around the neighborhood for trick or treating. And then, and now I've never seen a store do this. And a shout out to Weiss grocery stores in Kutztown. I don't know if all the Weisses did this or if it was a Kutztown exclusive thing, but they had tables set up Saturday between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And kids were free to dress up in their costumes and walk around the store. And they had tables set up with candy, with coloring books. They had one table where they had vanilla yogurt cups turned upside down with ghost faces drawn on them. I mean, it was the coolest setup I've ever seen. And like I said, shout out to Weiss grocery stores in Kutztown for doing that. If they all did that, then amazing company to think about the community that much that they went and did this. Because like I said, I've never seen a grocery store do that before.
Oh, that is wonderful.
So I was able to do that. Halloween itself, I was on a train heading towards Philadelphia. Hence the life of a railroad worker. I will be able to have like Thanksgiving Day. I will be able to spend some time with the family, but I have to be to work at 7 p.m., which means I have to leave this area about 5:30.
Yeah. How are you enjoying it?
If I'm being honest, I am enjoying it. It's a lot of work, a lot of studying, a lot of knowledge. And they cram a lot of stuff at you in a short amount of time. I'm probably about halfway or a little bit more than halfway through my training before being marked up. I'm on what they call the local jobs, which is more of switching industries, shorter trains, not the long distance stuff like going from Allentown to New Jersey or Hagerstown, Maryland, or Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's a lot of the smaller stuff. As Ross says in the chat, I am now Rail Wars. I am living out the anime Rail Wars.
Awesome.
The guy who the guy who grew up around rail fanning and stuff like that, to turning into the actual railroader. And the conductors I'm working with, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from it. A lot of people have said that as long as I want to do it, they don't see me having any issues with it. So that's always comforting to hear. I'm doing my best to be able to do everything, and I'm about to start my second notebook because I got one that's just like 5 pages from full.
Oh, wow.
I will say, Doug, around here, I don't know if when you were in Massachusetts you noticed, there's diners that are basically located in repurposed old train cars.
Yeah, there's a lot of the old passenger cars that they've converted into diners. I know in Palmer, Mass, there's an old train station that they turned into a restaurant right at the Diamond there.
There's a YouTube channel. The kid's based out of Boston area. I don't know exactly
Plymouth.
where. No, I don't know exactly where. I forget. But
that's going to be the running gag now.
I know. It's been running in the background for days. The YouTube channel did a 3-hour special where they went to literally every diner that was at one point a train car over the course of like 4 days.
That's kind of
and they went into the history of the train cars, and I'm like, I should remember to tell Doug this.
I like trains.
Yeah, I know. Hence
I like them a lot.
But it's the channel is Miles in Transit.
I'll have to try to remember that.
It
sounds interesting. But it has been fun. And it's been fun, learning about the railroading and seeing what goes on behind the scenes. And I'll be honest, you don't realize just how big these train cars and locomotives are until you're working on them. Like to climb up onto the side of some of these box cars, you're talking a step up of 2 to 3 feet, and that's to get to the bottom rung of the ladder to climb up these cars. And when you're sitting in the locomotive, you're about 10 feet in the air, the equivalent of a second-story window.
See, and I'm short, so I'm going to need one of those step stools to get there.
And when people hear, and it's funny because I talk to people, and most people, when you hear conductors, you think of like Amtrak or passenger service. You don't realize what a freight conductor does. But if there's an issue, the freight conductor is the one who has to walk that entire freight train. And we know that there are trains out there that are 200 plus cars long. So if there's an issue, we've got to walk that entire thing. You're talking 2+ miles long of freight cars. If one of those knuckles breaks that couples the cars together, we got to replace that. And those things are probably about 50, 60 pounds.
Holy cow.
And I had to do that at training in Georgia. They actually, well, I was doing a solo move of switching cars from one track to another. The instructor pulled the pen out, pulled the knuckle out, and had it drop, imitating a broken knuckle situation. I didn't see him do it. So when I was coming back and I noticed it, stopped the train. There's so many. Part of some of the rules are, railroad specific. Some of it's FRA rules. We need to be able to go between cars. They need to be at least 50 feet apart. And you need to get what's known as 3-step protection, where the engineer does certain steps in the engine to make sure that the train cannot move while you're between for safety reasons. And then I had to pick the knuckle back up, put the knuckle back in position, get the pin, put the pin back in to hold the knuckle in there. And it was definitely a good learning experience. And I'm so grateful it happened to me, because if it happened that way, if it happens for real, which in a rail yard with how hard these cars are constantly hitting into each other, those knuckles break all the time. I have experience now of, okay, this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And as you know, Rick, from like in any job, you have a huge learning curve at the beginning, and as time goes, you're going to get better at it.
You are.
And it's one of those things where sometimes the best learning experiences are when things go horribly, horribly wrong, because then you're prepared, and then anything else, okay, based on this experience, it's not going to be that bad.
Well, we don't want horribly, horribly wrong with what I do.
No,
you might want a minor infraction, but horribly, horribly wrong means that
but the
something
point
major.
stands, like a broken part for a safety concern, like you were talking about. Now you have that experience.
Yeah.
So when something doesn't go 100% right, you're like, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I see where Angela's coming from, because you don't really you learn, but you learn how the entire process will work and how it plays off when something fails.
Yep.
And it's like that with a number of things.
It's like that with almost any industry.
Absolutely.
It's just it's the stakes are different.
Absolutely.
But it is neat to be like there are times where I'll be pulling into the rail yard and I'm like, man, I actually work for a railroad now. This was
that's just
lifelong dream.
And that kind of gets into the everything I need to know about life I learned working fast food. I joke about that, but there's also some truth to that.
Yeah, that is true.
Because when you're working fast food and and you do not, and anything that can go wrong on your shift does, you can then 20 years later look back on those experiences and take the lessons, if you will, and apply it to the current situation.
If Darren was awake, you would agree.
Yep.
Be honest, I mean, when you work in the fast food industry, there's so much that goes into it, and the immediate thing that you take from it is the ability to deal with situations by talking or being, connecting with the customer. And so it's all about, that service, hospitality, customer service. Everything ends up being customer service. Well, except with, Doug, whose customer is a train.
Well, no, we will still talk to customers and stuff from time to time.
Darren and I actually talked about this last week. Because he was telling some recent stories about Bojangles, It's like, yeah, I get it. I've been there.
My first and second job was in the food industry. I worked at a pizza spot first, and then Burger King Express.
Wait, Express?
Yes.
Was
Okay.
it a was it I spent about 10 years in a Burger King, so
Okay. So when you live overseas, you could either have a full Burger King or you could have a BK Express. A BK Express has the menu, but not all of the menu items are there. And
it's a limited
customers
menu.
and at the same time, customers serve themselves. And so what we do is we during the prime times or prime hours, which is usually around 12 and 3 and 4, we make more burgers and we send them down a chute where customers grab them themselves. So we put the fries out, we put the burgers out, so they grab their own stuff on it and put it on their tray or grab a bag and come down, and we just make sure that we punch them out and they go. So they are in and out within
Yep.
minutes.
Now to put things into perspective, and I told this story during our Pokemon special. My first summer as a cashier was the year the first Pokemon movie hit the States.
Oh no.
And I had zero idea what Pokemon was because I was a 16-year-old girl. And our store was right off the highway.
Oh no.
Like you could see our sign from 495. Subsequently, I had a long-standing hatred of Pokemon because of that, because the nonsense I had to deal with from people yelling at me literally gave 16-year-old me nightmares.
I will never forget the anger that came from parents trying to get toys in the Happy Meals for their kids. I will never forget that. Every time a new movie came out, and this was in the 90s. Every time a new movie came out and the Happy Meal toy would come out, I've never dealt with so many angry moms and dads when their kid got the same toy as last time. Like, I want a new toy. It's like, dude, these are random. What do you want me to do?
And then a case of toys.
Oh God.
That was supposed to last a week lasted 4 hours.
Yes, one day.
4 hours, and these parents are swearing at me like it's somehow my fault when I don't even know what this is. The owner doesn't even know what this is.
Well, I'm going to date myself a little bit. I was living in Japan and I was active duty military when Pokemon came out.
You are not. I was going to say you are not that much older than I am.
And John Knight says next year will mark the 25th anniversary of Pokemon the movie.
Yep.
And Ross says he's in his 11th year of working at Zaxby's. So congratulations on 11 years at the same job. That's I can't even say I've worked at it anywhere that long.
I miss Zaxby's so much.
I remember visiting my sister when she was still living in Georgia, and it was some big event thing, and no one could believe the fact that I'd never heard of Zaxby's before because they don't exist up here.
Yep. Oh, Zaxby's is the best. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. I haven't heard that name in the last, oh my gosh, like 5 years.
And then of course, because I'd never been, everyone was watching me and my reaction to it because they're all. It was like one of their go-to spots.
Kind of like with Waffle House, it's a staple.
Ross says, Mr. Rick, we now sell Philly sandwiches.
Stop.
You cannot get a good cheesesteak outside of Philly.
I'm not going to argue that point at all.
Steak and cheese is not a cheesesteak.
That's one thing I know. Do not mess with a Philly native about their cheesesteak. Don't joke about it. Don't get them into the whiz or cheese sauce debate. Just don't. Or which spot has the best. Just don't.
Nope.
Just don't.
I did 5 semesters of college in Philly, and that was a thing. And trying to get up here, it's steak and cheese, and they put mayonnaise on it, which is gross.
What? Sacrilegious.
Why would you put mayonnaise on that? No.
I don't know.
No.
Who does that?
I mean, I won't do the mushrooms, but everything else.
No. Well, it
go-
was a steak and cheese with mayo. It was some hole in the wall sub shop up closer to the border, and I'm just like, no.
That's no longer a steak sandwich. That's a hoagie now. That's not a steak sandwich. No.
At some point, I will get out to Philly and have a real Philly cheesesteak.
Get the jardiniere. I always get a dip.
See, when I was down there, it was Cheese Whiz, and it was steak and Cheese Whiz and nothing else.
Oh, and Ross says, hold on, I was not done. It's called the Chicken Philly.
But
you know what? Nope. That's if it's the shaved chicken. If it's chicken done up like shaved steak, that's acceptable.
I'm not gonna mess with the Philly name.
Nope.
You tell them it's a chicken Philly steak.
No. You don't use the word steak. It's a
No. No.
It's just a chicken Philly. It's
No.
a chicken that'll fill you up, I guess. I don't know.
Oh God.
I don't know, but and we've got there
Let the bad puns
apparently
keep going.
Oh, God.
apparently there's a song called Waffle House by the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, good God. See what happens when you stayed on topic last week because I wasn't here. The chat wasn't here to keep, I have to set the chat off where they have to keep throwing random things for the shiny object guy.
I think the closest thing was somebody brought up Attack on Titan, and then I did my normal rant and cut it off.
But my goodness.
That's been all over the place tonight. Last week, no, we didn't until like 9:30.
And actually, when Darren and I did the special on Saturday night, we stayed on topic for an hour, just talking about the comparison between anime into video games and video games into anime.
And Darren and I continued that for like over an hour.
Actually, I did want to ask a question. I don't know if I asked this before. Because I've been meaning to talk to you guys about the part of the music in anime TV shows and movies and how that plays into your enjoyment of the series. To where whenever I watch an anime, I always try to listen for the music as well, because it really either enhances or kind of takes away from my enjoyment of it. I try to look at everything as a whole: the animation, the music, the voice acting, everything, storyline. But honestly, the music for me is a big factor.
For me personally, sometimes it depends. Like, that's not like the music is not a deal breaker for me. But if I find a song I really like, I will immediately open up my phone, go to Spotify, and find the song and add it to my playlist.
AKA Creepy Nuts.
Uh,
Everything.
Creepy Nuts was a perfect example of that. They both absolutely loved Call of the Night to the point where I tried. I got through 2 episodes. It was not for me. The art was gorgeous. The art was absolutely gorgeous. The soundtrack was fantastic. The story killed it for me.
Well, see, it's for me, like there was a show called Asterisk 4. I enjoyed the anime. The music was phenomenal for that anime. To include, like, I think Zammed, that intro song for that was just wonderful. Even Naruto had some hits, but I'll see like D Greyman. Music was wonderful for that series, and it really does help for me to propel the series just a little bit further, because I already like the show. I already like the storyline, but if the tracks hit,
I mean, good examples of something like that for me. Like you think, I can mention season 1 Inuyasha with V6 Changed the World.
oh my
That
god,
comes on, you knew it was Inuyasha. That song was fantastic. Angel Beats opening song. You hear that piano riff to start. All I have to say is Angel Beats, and that song pops into people's heads.
And John in the chat says the song for him is Song of Departure from Assassination Classroom.
that was good. But you know what, Doug, you hit it. You hit me in my feels for a second, because that was actually the show that got me to pay attention to music. Every Heart, the soundtrack for Inuyasha was, and that's one of the shows I watched that brought me back into watching anime. And part of that was waiting for the end, the ending title scene, where the music came on. It was just wonderful.
For one of the soundtracks, the anime soundtracks that I absolutely adore, and I feel adds that much more to the show, would be Cowboy Bebop.
Oh my gosh, that too. That was that beat that comes in right at the very beginning. And throughout the entire series, they killed it with
And
that.
as controversial as the live action is, the music from it, it's the same band, and subsequently the music, fantastic. Like they nailed that aspect.
And to separate the subject a little bit, we're talking about openings and ending songs, and that's not to be confused or compared with the music-based animes. Things like K-On!, Show by Rock, Love Live, Shine Post,
And
so many more, AKB 0048, shows that are revolved around music bands. Bocchi the Rock was a lot of them have fantastic music throughout the series themselves, because they're based around creating good music.
And then from Ross, what about the theme song of Rage of Bahamut Existence by the band Sim?
I don't know if I've heard that one.
I don't know if I've heard that one either. Another anime opener I really like. The anime I enjoyed, but I won't say it's good. The anime, the intro to Platinum End. It's a song by the metal band Bandmade.
I haven't heard that one. I mean, to go back on something that you said just recently, where the music was good, but the anime you didn't like. Like there was this show called I think it was called Campion, and it was about this kid that gets the power of different I think Greek creatures or something like that, and for some of them he has to like kiss a girl in order to do it. I did not enjoy that anime at all, but the intro to it was phenomenal. Or like Aquarion Evil. Watch the entire series, and that's another question for you guys as well, to be honest. Fantastic soundtrack. Aquarion Evil had a fantastic soundtrack, but then the show just, oh my gosh, the ending of the show just destroyed the entire thing.
I have like one show in mind that did that where it had so much potential, and the last 2 episodes just destroyed it and has it as one of the worst animes I've ever watched.
See, I would bringing this back around. I would argue we're getting to that point with Attack on Titan. Like the first few like I loved the first 3 seasons.
Mhm.
Even the beginning or the first part of season 4. But now we're getting to a point where it's just so off the deep end where it's like, really? Really?
Will you guys go back and watch a show that has a bad ending?
No.
As much as I hate to say it, and my wife has brought this up,
Mhm.
the temptation is there to rewatch Conception.
Oh God!
Why would you do that to yourself?
But I have to agree with you, Angela. There's absolutely no way. Like I spoke about Aquarion Evo, the concept at the very beginning, and then it hit the end, and I was just like, why would you guys do this?
Now, Ross has a few comments in the chat. The opening to the anime of
Zamd, XAMD.
Yes, that
by
was
the
my
Boom Boom
show.
Satellites, and then he goes on to say, "I like Evol and only Evol," and then agrees with us, Doug. Don't rewatch Conception. Just don't.
Aquarion had two series. You had Aquarion, then you had Aquarion Evol. Aquarion, the reason why people would like Aquarion Evol more is because it actually follows the manga more closely. However, for me, when it came to Aquarion, I liked how it ended. The way they did it, even though it wasn't, and mind you, you could say there's the argument that can be made that the entirety of Aquarion, the first series, was not canon. Aquarion Evol was.
Is this
And
like? Oh, go on, finish.
oh, it is Aquarion is a robot series that's based off of very how do I say it is very oriented around the Bible, where you have angels and humans, and they have aspects of that when they discuss everything. But you also have these super powered kids in school that fly these 3 ships. And the cool thing about these 3 ships is whoever is at the head, the robot that they turn into is a different robot. So you have these 3 ships, and the robot is different. Whoever is in charge, and they find this kid who they believe is the reincarnation of this angel who helped fight against his own kind to save the human race. And there's references to the tree of Cliffoff, I believe, or not the tree of Cliffoff, but the great tree, and a lot of different things that came into play. And I'll be honest, as a toy person, one of the coolest toys that I saw was the Aquarion toy, because it actually did the same thing as in the series. Without adding or taking away parts, you could actually transform them into the 3 robots, which was really, really neat, from just the three ships being moved around. But as for the anime, though, I did enjoy the first one more so than the second one. Soundtrack for the first one was phenomenal. The second one, the reason why I didn't enjoy it, and yes, I know it's closer to and mind you, I'm not saying it was bad. It's just that when it got towards the end, and they're saying they transformed the title because it's Aquarion Evol. They moved the letters around, and it spells love. I was just like, oh, it's adorable. Where's where's the sacrifice that they did in the first one? It just didn't. I went through the entire series, and it was like the last 2 episodes that killed me. And I was just like, love, okay, love saves everything. I get it. Just like friendship and fairy tale, but it was just something that it just didn't impact me as much as the first one that I wish it had. And I'm not saying it's a bad series, and it's not. It's just it didn't hit me in my feels as much as the first one did, and I was into it.
Now, going back to music side of things, have you gotten into watching any of the music-based animes, Love Live, Zombieland Saga, K-On!, stuff of that nature?
I have not actually. And it's not that I'm not, again, that I'm not interested. Because I want to see the ones where they form like the boy and girl bands and stuff like that. I do want to see that because I know the music is just phenomenal. So I am open to it. I just haven't given myself the opportunity to sit down and enjoy it because, again, like I said before, I just throw something in the background and just let it run. I know those anime, they're very, you have to pay attention because it's the process that brings them from one point to another. And if you're not paying attention, and unfortunately, like I don't sometimes when I'm watching it, you will miss out on a really impactful moment that, that brings the characters forward rather than, stupid, overpowered anime where it's just like some guy's dead. You're like, yeah, the main character did that, and then you move on.
I think a good show, a good music-based show for you to put on as background, and it's got somewhat of a storyline to it. The music in it's fantastic, and the thing that I like about it, and I talk about the show a lot on the podcast. Show by Rock would be, I think, a perfect watch for you to put on in the background because you get good music. The English dub,
Yeah,
everything is dubbed. From the opening song to the ending song for seasons 1, 2, and Show by Rock Mashima Resh, the first season. The only season of the 4 Show by Rock seasons where the music isn't dubbed is Show by Rock Stars.
is it okay? I see it. It's on Crunchyroll.
It's on Crunchyroll. It's fantastic. The casting is really good. And the thing that I really drew me to it, aside from like the characters were adorable, it's not an idol girl anime. Yeah, you have some pop idol songs, but there's a traditional Japanese sound in there with a sitar. There's heavy metal. There's rock. There's like it's all kinds of music genres in this anime, and they're voiced by a lot of extremely talented voice actors.
I'm looking at it. It looks so vibrant.
It's vibrant. It's there is a decent storyline.
I love that. I love something that catches your eye and your attention.
But I guarantee you'll sit if you put that on. You'll be working and you'll hear them start singing and you'll be working and you'll be dancing in your chair. I will guarantee you that.
Oh, awesome!
And in my opinion, the ending song for season 1 is probably one of the best songs by Plasmagica, the first band features in the show. Mashima Resh has some really, really good songs as well when you get into season 3 and 4.
I'll say honestly, the first show other than Inuyasha that got me to really just stand up and take notice of the music was Zammed. That one was it. I mean, it was a good show, but holy cow, that one! And I'm so glad that they brought it up. Zammed was hot. I'm really interested in seeing that. I already saved it to my list.
I don't lie when I say that we've got some of the most knowledgeable and best fans that tune in every week.
They're fantastic. Thank you so much.
And I love the people who have followed us, throughout the years. And Ross has been there from the beginning. John Knight has been pretty good Not pretty good.
They-
He's very knowledgeable about
They
birthdays
ask
and stuff like
fun
that.
questions.
You guys mentioned Inuyasha earlier. The
Mhm.
question now comes, Rick, if you watched Yashahime, which is the sequel to
The
Inuyasha.
sequel. I haven't. Is it? And mind you, I've
It's
been
on Crunchy.
it, and the only reason why I haven't is because I'm a little fearful after Boruto, and I'm well aware that that it was there, but I have not moved into it. But it is something that I saw pop up before I had Crunchyroll on the internet every now and again. I was like, oh, so they have a sequel. But by the time I realized that they had the sequel, Boruto had been out. And I had watched a piece of that and was just completely turned off to the sequels of it. So I was fearful that it would. I loved Inuyasha. It was so wonderful, and I didn't want to ruin it with a sequel.
I don't think you'll ruin your love for Inuyasha by watching Yashahime. As a diehard Inuyasha fan myself, that's what got me into anime. Yashahime is not. Some people call it a sequel, but it's more of a further continuation of the story through the adventures of the children. So Yashahime, the character Yashahime, is Inuyasha and Kagome's daughter.
Yeah.
And then you have Sesshomaru and Rin, who have two daughters. So you're it's the same time frame, the same older art style. It's a little bit different, but you still get that nostalgic feel. I kind of fell out of it I started watching it, fell out of it due to the fact of working two jobs, things of that nature. Also, when the passing of the voice actor for Moroku happened during the show, I kind of fell out of it a little bit there because you get used to hearing these voices, and when you're watching a show with flashbacks to Inuyasha, Kagome, Sesshomaru, Moroku, Sango, and you hear those familiar voices, and it just hits that sweet spot. Okay. And it's always kind of tough to hear a change mid-season for whatever the case may be, especially in this case where it was such a tragedy of losing the voice actor.
So, and I was very well aware of the characters that were in it, and like I said, I didn't want to take away. When I watched, I tried to give what was that show? The one with the scythe and they collected souls.
Soul Eater, not
Soul Eater. Oh gosh. And it
Soul Eater was really good. I heard so many bad things about Soul Eater not that I haven't even wanted to watch it.
I watched part of the first episode, and I'll be honest, after how they explained, sometimes now mind you, I am one of those people that does not mind seeing how the hot dogs are made, but at the very beginning of Soul Eater not, the way they explained how they work with one another, she at the very beginning in the first episode, the main character from Soul Eater is standing in front of the class. She has her scythe, and you saw her very skilled in Soul Eater. She knew what she was doing. She kicked butt. At the very beginning of Soul Eater not, she talks about how she is not responsible for moving the scythe around really at all. She said it spins on its own and I just move it. And I was like, so you're not in full control of the scythe? He's actually moving himself for you. I mean, it's cool because it means that you work together. However, at the same time, you just took away some of your skill set from the first show. I was just like, it took it away from me just a little bit. I have gone back and watched Soul Eater, of course, but
Soul Eater is still good.
Oh gosh, I wish they would have gone into what happened in the books a little bit more than they did in anime. But I will not say, I cannot say that the end that they chose for the anime took away from anything for me. That show was fun. That was fun. So I did not mind the fact that the anime and the book and the mangas were different.
And you're talking about some older shows like that have like sequels or spinoffs. Negima was another one where the original came out. I watched the original, and I think it was the first time I would watch an anime, and you started to get attached to Asuna, and then like 3/4 of the way through the show, she dies.
Yep.
And then it turns into how to bring her back, and you're like, wait, what? I wasn't expecting it. And then they had, the second Negima that came out, and the whole story is like a lot of the same characters, but the whole story was a little bit different. And I guess the second one followed more of the manga than the first one did, from what I heard.
Yes.
Both of them were good in their own right. The only thing that you had to get used to, and my wife refuses to watch it in English dub for this reason, is the voice, the specific voice that was chosen for Negi. We love Greg Ayer's work, but the voice that he chose, or that they chose for him to do for Negi,
didn't work.
Just ruined it for her. I didn't mind it, but I can't do it. I can't. She's like, no, this is just horrible. And I could say the same thing about Sailor Moon from the original. Sailor Moon's friend, I could not get past the voice and the accent.
That was part of the reason why I had issues with Wise Man's Grandchild. It was the girl that he was interested in, that voice that they had her doing, that drove me insane. That drove me nuts, and that's why I had the hardest time watching that show the first time. It was just the direction that she had for that voice just didn't work.
And me. Ross, I will somewhat agree with you that Vampire Girl was best girl in Negima, especially in the second season. She had some really hysterical lines in English.
I'm so glad that they brought her back for that newest series with I don't know, was that Negima's clone?
And Ross is saying you mean Cillian or Sicilian? I'm probably butchering this pronunciation.
And I don't think it was Negima. I think it was Wise Man's Grandchild is who.
Yes, Sicilian. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's her. That direction drove me mad. That high pitched voice. Oh my god, Miggy! It was like, oh my, what is this? He's the Wise Man's Grandchild. It's like, why are you doing that voice?
See, that it happens far less often now than it did in the past, but every now and again you get one voice that doesn't fit the anime, and it kills the dub for me.
It does. Every now and again, it does. And mind you, I've got past it, and it's in my lineup of shows to watch. Matter of fact, I'm watching again the what is it, the dungeon at the end of the world, or the kid from the dungeon at the end of the world, or something like that. What is that called? What is it called? Suppose a kid from the last dungeon boonies moves to.
Oh, I know that one. That actually was pretty good.
Yeah.
That one was a fantasy, not isekai.
Yes.
Surprisingly.
Growing up, and I gotta be honest, growing up in the 80s, they had some of the best fantasy movies out there, and during their time. And my older sister was really into like fairy tale books, like the original fairy tale books, and the dictionaries that went into the fairy lore. And so she kind of really sparked that love of those types of movies, Legend, Labyrinth, those types of movies.
See,
And so I love the genre.
see, I love. I will give. I will give these guys crap for isekai,
Mhm.
but I love me a good fantasy.
Oh yeah.
That's why I have, and I know I've hyped it a lot, and you hear everybody talking about Free Run Ange, but I gave you legitimate reasons
And
why
that's
I think you would like it.
and I'm not gonna dispute that. It's just right now it's overhyped, and I know if I try to watch it now, I'm gonna go in with that mentality,
Yeah.
and and I know
It's,
if I go into something with that mentality, I'm not gonna enjoy it.
I'm going to call it now. It's going to be like Bochi, where it had the hype when it was there, and now nobody talks about it.
And Bochi is on our list. We missed that one when it came out.
But that makes a lot of sense, because when you get into an anime that's been so propped up, that's been so that people just swear by, and if it doesn't hit like people tell you it should, it kind of takes away of, or you go in with lofty goals and you're not really able to enjoy it for what it actually is and really get into the characters because you're too busy, with the mindset that you've hyped up for it. So it can honestly kind of take things away from it. But then there's the opposite end of the spectrum where you may go in, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so much better than I thought it was going to be. But at the same time, if you give yourself that time to go in and watch it after the hope has died, or not hope, but the hype has died down,
And
it gives you an opportunity to really enjoy it.
two things from the chat. One, what's your favorite fantasy anime?
Favorite fantasy anime? Oh wow. Oh shoot. I have to what is that one? With the guy, he's a dragon, or half dragon. Oh, what is it? I can't remember what his name was. It's the guy and the girl. They're traveling, and they one of them is either part dragon. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Oh my gosh, it escapes me. But I'll say Claymore was another good one that I thoroughly enjoyed. What else? Um, the names of my favorite fantasy anime are escaping me right now.
Would you
But
classify Rosario Vampire as a fantasy style anime?
actually, I more classify that as in the genre of horror, but it's still more or less like a
I mean, we already know it's a
sitcom.
harem. You
Yeah,
know, it's a harem.
I see
See,
more. I see more as a harem sitcom horror type thing.
Goblin Slayer is one that
Goblin Slayer.
I like.
I'm trying to see. I'm at the computer and I had to look this up.
And then
Go ahead, Ange. I
I
think we're
was
going to
gonna
say the same thing.
I believe so, because before I feel like, yep, before we end tonight, I think it's technically an anime, but great music, Hunting Secret and Seekers.
Which one?
Hunting Secret and Seekers.
Oh, that sounds good. I can't remember this anime's name.
As an aside, since we went down the rabbit hole of anime soundtracks, there's also some video game soundtracks that are just mwah, amazing.
Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I was just listening to Memories of Light Waves before from Final Fantasy X2 before the chat started.
One day at work for background noise, I played the entire Final Fantasy X soundtrack.
Oh, such a Besaid was one of my favorites out of that one. I I know the Final Fantasy X soundtrack.
Yep.
I still, I will go back. I'm actually right now, and I'm working on getting their ultimate weapon. So I'm in the Chocobo race, which is driving me absolutely insane. I'm in the last one, the one with the birds and the balloons. I hate it. I hate it so much, but still kills me at the end of that game. Such a fantastic ending. Such a sad ending too. I die. I cry really hard at the end of that one every single time.
And I get flack for this, but the only Final Fantasy game I've ever played to completion, it wasn't 100% completion, but I actually like finished, was Final Fantasy 9, which people forget about.
Actually,
9?
it wasn't a bad one. That's the one with the guy that had the monkey tail.
Yeah, Zidane Tribal.
9, I got to a point in 9 where I just got stuck and lost, and then just never went back, and then got too busy to play video games, and then just never went back.
And Melodies of Life was such a good song from
Yes.
that.
The soundtrack to 9 is amazing. And Ross is saying, does the Digimon movie soundtrack count as good?
Yes.
Ross, I'm gonna say if you enjoy it, then it counts.
Rick says yes, so
Yeah, okay. Digimon, I don't know what the heck is up with Digimon. Their songs bang. I don't know what the heck, because my kids used to watch Digimon, and I used to watch what's the Digimon where the Digimon Fusion. That soundtrack, when that song comes on, it's fantastic. But every time that my kids would be watching it, I would stop during the intro and just watch.
And
it hits so
there's
hard.
another moment where we're gonna feel old. Next year will mark the 25th anniversary of the Digimon dub.
Oh God.
if you want to talk about another song that everybody knows and people will literally stop and sing, the Pokemon original intro.
What was it?
I've seen entire convention halls just come to a screeching halt and everybody sing when that song came on.
What was that? That Yu-Gi-Oh! That had the dual runners where they had motorcycles. Have you guys seen that one? I think it was Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. That's the intro song for that one was fantastic too, because they dueled on they had these motorcycles, and the main character, you can see there was a little bit of Akira influence in the motorcycle for this one, but they dueled on motorcycles around a track, and the intro song for that show was wonderful.
On that note, we are just about out of time, which, oh my God, this show has just flown by with amazing guests. So thankful that Johnny C joined us for the first half hour of the show. Of course, big thank you to Rick for hanging out with us tonight. You know, we love having you on, and a lot of good chat, a lot of good conversation tonight.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I absolutely love coming on your guys' show. So thank you so much for bringing me back.
And before we let you go, once again, promote your store, promote the websites, promote your
Promote the
charity
event next
event.
week.
Yes, my store is called Nerd Urbanity, and it's nerdurbanity.com. I have some of everything: Transformers, anime figures, vintage figures, G.I. Joes. I kind of range the gambit, but I love having items that people have never seen before outside of Japan. So I try to get those things in from some of my suppliers from overseas. And next week, please check us out. There's going to be random drops starting in the late afternoon on Friday, November the 10th, and mid-afternoon, November the 11th. And it's going to be an event for Hope for the Warriors. Hope for the Warriors is a nonprofit that services injured military members and their families who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And it's a fantastic nonprofit that I've been donating to for 3 years. This weekend is going to be a charity event where we will be selling items for $1 shipping, and then my store, Nerd Urbanity, will then send the entire retail price to Hope for the Warriors. So that's an easy way for you guys to get something awesome for $1 plus shipping cost, and a way for my business to help a charity. So all of us working together is a way for all of us to help a lot of really needy military members to try to make them whole.
And that is just so awesome that you're doing that. And
Yeah.
I was just got distracted. I was looking at your site again because, as you said, you're always updating the stock. And me
Yes.
being diehard into the anime figures and stuff, my interest came across the Albedo Nightwear version figure.
Yes. She's actually sitting right over in the corner.
I'm like, okay, I know that's like my wife's favorite character from Overlord. She loves Albedo. I'm more of a Shaltier fan, but Albedo is great too. I'm like, I don't have the money now, but that is a possibility. At least I know where to get it.
Yes.
Whereas I'm just like, this is a really good. This is with all of the military in my family. I'm like, this is just a really good cause, and I'll probably throw money at you regardless for that to go towards that.
If you would like to donate, and I apologize for not saying this before, please visit hopeforthewarriors.org, and there you will be able to see what their process is. I believe 91% of the revenue that they take in, they donate to military families.
Because my sister is active duty military. My brother-in-law spent time overseas as a Marine. So anything to support the military and military families, I am 100% on
And
board and will support in what little way I can.
I ask, please thank them for their service for me. And they are absolutely wonderful for the time that they gave to our country. I'm prior active duty. My wife got out after 21 years. Only, I think this next March will mark her 2nd year being out of the service. My brother was active duty. My father was active duty. My uncle was active duty.
Both my parents were active duty.
Both of my grandfathers were in World War II. My mom's oldest brother did multiple tours in Vietnam, so that none of the other brothers had to.
Oh, wow.
A lot of my wife's family is either is in military or was military at some point. So, a lot of military throughout all of our lives, and really we thank the men and women who go out there and do what they do so we can do what we do.
Exactly. And mind you, military people have a tendency to kind of matriculate to one another because, I don't know, it's just something.
It's a brotherhood.
We can tell who's military.
It is very much a thing.
It is. It's the oddest kind of magnet, and but at the same time, I was Air Force, so I catch the crappy end of the stick typically when when we talk about the services, because Air Force is always pampered and spoiled, and everyone else always hits us for that, and I don't blame them. I mean, I'm not a crayon eater, but still.
Nope, you mean the Coast Guard?
Nope, that's the rivalry between the branches is also a thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, but at the same time, you mess with one branch, you mess with all
of them.
Exactly.
But that's us messing with us. It's like, hey, you can't come in here and say anything unless you've been there.
Okay. Yeah, it's similar how Angela and I pick on each other about shonen versus isekai.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. No, we give each other shit, but at the end of the day,
It's all family.
it's all
Exactly.
family. And if anyone was serious about talking shit, it's like, no, fuck you.
Exactly. Go to hell, mind your business.
On that note, once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We've had a lot of fun. Again, next week, I don't think I will be here. So you'll have more fun listening to Angela and Darren fill up a 2-hour show about whatever they feel like talking about. Again, big thank you, Rick, for joining us. You know, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Hopefully you have a wonderful holiday season. If we don't talk to you before then, keep me up to date on any good figures you get in anime wise, because
Absolutely.
you know that's a weakness of mine. And out here, there's no good anime stores. I haven't found any yet.
Okay.
So,
well, I will be your hookup if you need it.
until next week with more Anime-Zing Radio, and who knows, I might do a special, like a 1-hour special here or there on a day off or something next weekend. I do have Saturday off, but we'll see how tired I am. Until next week, when you get more Angela and Darren nonsense. This has been Anime-Zing Radio right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Enjoy the anime. Have a good night.